Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Today we talk about the changing world. We try to imagine what the world will be like in the year 2025.
And we talk to this man, Bruce Sterling, who's a science fiction writer.
What will the world be like in the year 2025? What will have happened? What do you think, Natalie?
I think the population of the world will have increased, and the major cities will have become much bigger.
What about you, Kevin?
Well, I hope that a lot of things will have improved.
Such as?
I hope we'll have found the answer to our traffic problems. And I hope that doctors will have discovered more ways to cure serious illnesses and diseases.
And I hope that people will have learned how to live in peace.
So, what do Natalie and Kevin think or hope will have happened by the year 2025?
The population of the world will have increased. And all the world's major cities will have become much bigger.
I hope that we will have found the answer to our traffic problems. I hope that doctors will have discovered more ways to cure serious illnesses and diseases.
But do we really know what will happen in the next 30 years? Do we even know what will happen in the next 30 days? What will you have done by this time next month?
I hope I will have been on holiday to Cuba.
I will have directed my first play.
By this time next month, I'll have packed my stuff to go to Zimbabwe. I'll have said goodbye to everybody. I'll have given in my notice at work.
I will have appointed 17 new teachers.
I will probably have gone bankrupt unless I get a job in the next 2 weeks.
I will have had my wisdom teeth out.
Oh, I will have turned 30. I'm turning 30 on Friday the 13th, so that's a big monumental occasion.
She's a very nice baby.
She's an extraordinary baby, extremely intelligent.
Really?
Oh, yes. She is going to be an amazing person.
Oh.
Yes, indeed. By the time she's 3 years old, my little girl would have learnt to read and write. She'll have finished school by the time she's 11. And by the time she's 15, she will have graduated from university. And by the time she's 21, she will have become Prime Minister.
And by 10 o'clock tonight, I still won't have had any breakfast.
The baby had a prediction about the very near future.
By 10 o'clock tonight, I still won't have had any breakfast. Science fiction writers often write about how the world will change in the future. Bruce Sterling is a science fiction writer. He has a lot of ideas about how the world will have changed by the year 2025. Before we hear that, let's find out something about his work and his interests.
Well, I am an author and journalist, and I am a genre writer. I write science fiction novels. I'm interested in the sciences, and I'm interested in conveying to people what they really mean. I like to carry scientific thought into the fabric of daily life. I'm not interested in the sciences in the abstract. I want to talk and think about how they actually affect people in their daily lives. The way they dress, the way they work, what they do, how they react, how they live, how they die, how they eat, how they suffer. I'm interested in the human impact of technological innovation. Now, I work at home, and I work on a computer, so I spend all day in front of a screen. And then to relax, I will often move into the other room and approach another screen, this time the television screen. But with one, I sit right before it, close enough to touch it, and with the other, I sit across the room and I address it with a remote control. Now, these two screens have the same images, and they will increasingly share data. The question is, under what circumstances will I sit before them, and under which will I, lie down before them? And I think you will find the two merging as time goes on. You will find yourself doing more and more work on your television, and more work that's almost indistinguishable from play in a lot of ways. Already I find many of my social relations, the way I talk to people, is very electronic. It takes place through networks, it takes place through telephones, through fax machines. Eventually I will be seeing them on the television, and it will be difficult for me to tell work from play and work from parties.
Bruce Sterling is a science fiction writer who's interested in the impact, the effect, of science and technology on our daily lives.
Like a lot of people, Bruce works all day in front of a computer screen. And when he's not working, he watches television.
And he predicts that soon our telephones will have video screens.
He says it will be difficult for him to tell work from play, to distinguish work from play.
Let's hear what he thinks the world will be like in the year 2025. Which will be the most powerful countries, the most powerful nations in the world?
I suspect that by the year 2025, we may have forgotten all about the concept of nations. I really believe that we will have moved to the concept of trading blocks by 2025. And it's true that nationalism seems surprisingly powerful at this point in time, but I suspect that that won't last. That we will have moved to a society where national boundaries and even cultural boundaries are increasingly meaningless. They'll have less and less to do with people's loyalties, less and less to do with people's daily lives.
What about the United Nations organization?
I suspect that by 2025, the United Nations will have become a much more powerful force, but perhaps not under the same name. I think we will see some kind of environmental police force, an international force which has the power to interfere in local affairs if it feels that it serves the interests of the global environment.
And what will the future be like for Europe?
I think that Europe has a great deal to teach the world, possibly. Probably more so at this point in time than the United States or even the East Asian groups. Europe has been a source of a lot of trouble in the 20th century, and it's nationalist trouble and political trouble. If the Europeans can learn to overcome their own tribalism, then perhaps the rest of the world can learn. On the other hand, if the Europeans cannot do this, then I foresee very great trouble, probably another world war, perhaps more savage than the earlier ones. Not a nuclear world war, but a war over resources, basically a continent-sized Yugoslavia. And that's not a pleasant prospect. But I don't believe that will, in fact, happen. I think the Europeans will have their open borders. I think they will have a one European currency. And I think they have a good chance of becoming the single most powerful trading bloc of the three I see coming.
Let's listen again to two of Bruce's predictions.
We may have forgotten about the concept of nations. The United Nations will have become a much more powerful force.
We've heard what Bruce Sterling thinks will have happened to the nations of the world by the year 2025. What does he think will have happened to our industries?
I believe we will have stopped wasting so many of our resources. I believe we will have installed much more recycling. I believe that our industries will have become much cleaner. They will have been redesigned from top to bottom to save energy, to save resources, to stop pollution. I believe we will take much more care about what we put into our environment in the way of chemicals and toxins. I believe also that our eating habits will change drastically. We will be eating material in 2025 that would be basically unrecognizable to anyone today. I think there will be a great vogue for artificial foods because they're cheap to make. I believe practices like slaughtering livestock for food will still be around, but they will have been abandoned in great extent, not because of moral reasons, but basically for financial reasons. There's simply not going to be room for enormous herds of cattle.
What about people in the year 2025? Will we be better or worse?
We will have become more advanced, but we will not have become any more moral. I think we will still see the same hypocrisy, the same greed, the same basic animal traits that have always propelled humanity. But on the other hand, I don't believe we will have become any worse. And perhaps our increasing knowledge may bring us a little bit more wisdom.
So, in some ways, Bruce Sterling is optimistic about the future.
Yes, he predicts that by 2025, we will have stopped wasting our resources and will be recycling more, using things again instead of throwing them away.
And he thinks that industries will have become much cleaner.
He also thinks that by 2025, we may have become a little wiser.
An optimistic thought to end the program. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.